Hello everyone, my name is Kudzie Mapiye, and on this channel I do videos about my life living here in Australia, and I also share different life lessons that I've learned along the way. In today's video I'm going to be talking about migrants comparing themselves to other migrants and what this can do and how this will slow your progress and your achievements where you are most of the time. So I'll just be sharing from my personal observations, my personal experiences. I think there's something about us humans, and I'll say us because even with myself, there's something about us humans that we always need to compare ourselves, evaluate ourselves against other humans to see that we're humaning enough, we're doing the right thing. And it's something that is so common, and I think it's something that is just almost instinctive in us, that we always need to compare ourselves or to just see what the other person is doing. Have you ever seen, even in the race, right now the Olympics are going on, the Olympics in Paris, and you see sometimes people are running, and if you remember in school athletics, when someone is running and they're doing very well, even if they know they're coming in first, there's no one there in front of them, even if they know they're coming in first, there's always this action that they do, they're running, they're smiling, they know they're winning, but they always look back to see how far behind everyone else is, and that gives them a little bit of satisfaction to see that I'm ahead. But not only am I ahead, I'm way ahead. So it's always that comparison thing. And I use athletics because it's actually proven scientifically that when you are running and you turn back, you actually slow yourself down. So that person, even though they were coming first, they've probably slowed themselves down by a second or two by looking back. They've just interrupted that momentum a little bit by slowing back, by looking to see who's coming behind them or how far ahead they actually are. So looking, comparing yourselves and trying to see where everyone else is can actually slow down your own progress. And in terms of migrants, I'll just talk about migrants here in Australia. I know that a lot of migrants, and I'm not only talking about people from Zimbabwe, I've seen a lot of migrants from other countries. Whenever you have a gathering where there are a lot of migrants involved, you will see people to naturally just talk about what they're doing, their achievements. There's always this measuring up that always happens, and I personally feel it whenever I'm amongst other migrants, whether people say it or they don't, you can definitely feel that energy of comparison. People are looking around, they're looking who's wearing what, who's driving what, who lives where, who does what for a living, and it's always so competitive, and people are always trying to either feel better about themselves by seeing how far ahead they are, or other people are trying to they're looking at how everyone's so ahead and they're feeling sorry for themselves. But there are so many different factors, especially for migrants, which prove that you cannot compare yourself to other people and their own personal journey. First of all, when people move to a different country, you never know what kind of life they lived before and what they had going for them before that they're now bringing as a stepping stone. For example, I came in Australia as a student. I had $0 to my name, that I had, not that I had zero, the money that I had wasn't a lot of money. I couldn't buy something significant with the money that I had worked for at that time. And I'd only worked for a year, just as a gap year. It wasn't even a super serious gig or anything like that. It was just a gap year type of job working for my family. So the thing is, I didn't have a lot to my name, and I was a student. I was fairly young. There were other people who came the same time as me, but they came in different situations. They would have been professionals, There are people who would have come as students. I know there are people who I was in the same class with from Zimbabwe as students, but they came as students, but they had significant work experience behind them. They had actually worked, like they were coming to do either a second degree or just like a master's degree. They had worked before, they had been married before, they had houses before. So it was a completely different situation. So that's why it's so hard. Like, it's of no use to compare yourself with people because you don't know like their different like situations and circumstances. So if I had been comparing myself to other students but not knowing that these people had like significant work experience behind them, they had already worked and saved money and done things in life, like I would be slowing myself down because it's either they're way ahead of me or like they're behind me. Whatever the case, it's irrelevant where they stand in relation to where I stand because our circumstances are different. So it's very important to know your individual circumstances and what you came to do. Just focusing on you, your journey, why you're in this country, what you came to do, it'll be more beneficial. And I remember when I was at uni, I used to work like I think I was one of the most like working students, international students that I knew of. There were other people who used to work. Other people used to work maybe casually, a shift or two a week. I was like balancing work. I was working as much as I was studying. I was like, you know what I mean? It was work, study was kind of like balancing each other out. So I had a lot more to juggle because I knew my own personal circumstances and what I had to do for myself, the bills that I had for myself, how much help I was getting or not getting. So my circumstances were very unique to me. So if anyone was comparing themselves to me, I think they were doing themselves a disservice because they didn't understand what was happening in my own life. So it's very important to know your own background, your own aspirations, your own plans, and move at your own pace. Because sometimes you can even slow yourself down. Sometimes you're moving at a pace and everyone else seems to be behind you, but you're actually not maximizing your own potential. They are behind you because of maybe some other circumstances that you don't know of. And let's say, for example, you came as a student, but you had significant work experience, and you're comparing yourself to other students who had no work experience and their progress that they're making. You should probably be maybe way ahead, but you're saying, no, I'm okay because I'm at the same level as my peers, or I'm just slightly ahead, where you should be like way ahead of them. So it's never a good idea to compare yourself with people. And even outside of being a student, just being a professional and a working migrant, you look at the age of your children. If you have children who are still going to daycare, you have significant costs more than migrants who have students that have kids that have finished that phase of life, because they're not paying those exorbitant prices in daycare. Like they're not spending that much money on daycare costs, and some people have 1, 2, 3 kids in daycare at the same time. So you can't really compare yourself to them because what they're able to do financially is very different from what other people who don't have those expenses are able to do financially. So it's a lot of comparison goes on, like with migrants, and I see even migrants from different countries. I know, for example, like migrants, like I'm a migrant from Zimbabwe. I know there are migrants from like India that I know of personally who have their parents come over and help them, and they've got a way bigger community. I was talking to like one of my friends who is Indian, and she was saying that they have someone in their community who, like an older lady who cooks food for the community, like the Indian community in the area that they live, so that when people are coming from work, they can just pay her a small fee, and she can cook them like their traditional meals, so they don't have to worry about cooking after work. So they're not even worried about like balancing that aspect of their life. And then there are other people in the community that can take care of kids, their parents involved. So like in terms of just support, if you're going to be comparing yourself to those other migrants, it's you're not even like you're in two completely different worlds, two completely different circumstances. And just look at what your situation is, what you need to do for yourself, and what your goals are. And you can have higher goals than someone who has more going for them. Like you can, as a student coming with nothing, you can have higher goals than someone who has who came as a professional or has a lot of work experience behind them. It's all about yourself, your personal circumstances, and what you want to achieve. So I just thought I'll talk about this topic because it's something that I see every time I'm meeting with other migrants. And you see that people are having conversations, and you look at the ages of people, even you're like, these people are way older than these other people. Some of these people are looking at retirement, and they're talking about what they have or what they have going back home, like, you know, how many properties they have. And it's like, of course you would have that many properties, of course you would have all that behind you, because you have been working for so much longer than everybody else. So people should always consider that, you know, people have different circumstances, and also to be easy on yourself, kind with yourself, and not put so much unreasonable pressure on yourself by trying to like outdo people or trying to be at the same level as people. Some people have, like, maybe Australia is the third country that they've moved to. They've been to the UK, they've been to South Africa, and now they're in Australia. They've got so much more experience. They've navigated like the complexities of being a migrant in a new country, and maybe for you it's the very first time living out of your country. You can't be comparing yourself to those people. They have a lot more experience. Even in their workplace, they'll move very differently to how you move because they've done this all before. They know how to work as a migrant. They know how to navigate things like, you know, racism or discrimination, or like, you know, being in a minority group. They know how to do all that. They've done it before. So just run your own race. Be yourself. Focus on what your individual goals are, and evaluate yourself for your goals. Like compare yourself to what you have set yourself to do. If you say to yourself, I want to do this, and doesn't matter what everyone else is doing, whether everyone else has done it way before you or they haven't done it before, and you know no one is even thinking of doing that, that doesn't matter. If it is your goal, you evaluate yourself against your own goals, against your own aspirations, and against your own plans. That is the best way to make good progress, and that is the best way to stay mentally healthy, motivated, and just be focused on what you have to do. So to all those migrants out there, to all those potential migrants out there, I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in my next video.